Every time he kicks the can and doesn't pick it up, it's just annoying.
Now, do you know what the price is, Greg? Well, you don't know. I'm going to tell you.
You are
Mm-hmm.
really just trying to keep pace with market rents.
Sure, it takes a lot more money to do it here than it does in the US. 24.99.
Um, Recording in progress.
Well, Greg,
Well,
let's
well,
chat.
well. Let's. Where are we in the world of real estate today?
Well, I'm not actually sure. I know that we hear thing after thing after thing, and it seems like the Bank of Canada will not be lowering rates at the end of this month.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, there's that.
And again, going back to what we said before, does it matter? Because part of me wants to agree with you, but then I look at other points and maybe Torontonians are spoiled a little bit. Maybe we're thinking like we should have money for free. And I will talk to you about some data that I found. So, RBC, Royal Bank of Canada, put out a little chart, which I'll put up in the video once we're done, but market activity, and this is across Canada.
Right.
So, home resales and new listings. So, in Toronto, as you know, you and I would expect, new listings on the market are up significantly. So almost, I would say about 8%, according to this graph. But home resales are down 2 or 3%. The prices have also fallen off. So in Toronto, the home price index in June was down 5.5%. So listings on the market have increased by 8%, meaning there's more inventory, but the price is down 5.5% or roughly $58,000 on average from a year ago. Condos are down 8% from a year ago.
I
So
mean,
going back to your point about the interest rate, I think yes,
mhm.
interest rates will be an indicator for some people, but it's hard to deny this number. And what makes it even more interesting is that other cities across the country have a completely different scenario, but yet the pricing there is actually improving. So we should all really be working off the same playbook, right? Nationally. So I feel like what we're experiencing in Toronto is a local mentality versus a national problem.
Right. Um, Overall, though, I'm gonna try to put this delicately. Overall, the prices in Toronto are increased or inflated, whichever way you want to look at it, which skews the rest of the country if they're looking at it overall. Toronto and Vancouver, pretty much the prices are what they are.
Yeah.
I feel like in the other provinces, um, it's not as much. So when you look at the pricing in Toronto and Vancouver for what you get for that amount of money um, versus house, you get less of a price in other provinces, but more of a house. It depends on where you want to fit in.
Mm. So
And I think,
value.
yes, a lot of it has to do with opportunities. Like, is there job opportunities in like New Brunswick and Nova Scotia the way that it is here in Toronto and Vancouver, let's say,
Yeah.
right? I don't know the answer to those questions. I just know that do I want to go to someplace like Vancouver or not Vancouver, but Nova Scotia or New Brunswick? I think for me, weather-wise, no. But for other people, I think they would definitely be interested in going there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not packing up and moving, but it does give me some, I guess, confidence that what we're experiencing in Toronto is not necessarily the same that is happening across the country, especially when we look at how we're operating and functioning in relation to the US, right?
Hmm.
Because that's been what's top of mind for everybody. But according to this RBC paper, was that um, transactions have increased in a number of different places. So, like Vancouver, Edmonton, Regina, Saskatoon, Halifax, and so on. So, there are places outside of Toronto where there is an improvement despite, the mentality of, playing it a bit safer, waiting for interest rates. And I think the interest rate story has, yes, it's rooted in numbers and affordability, but I think it also is a trigger for people where, like, if the interest rate goes in one direction, they're like, okay, times are okay. The government and the Bank of Canada have told me, they've given me the green light to do something.
Right.
Versus if it goes the other direction, I think subconsciously people feel like they were sort of playing red light, green light. If the, Bank of Canada holds or increases, uh-oh, but they don't necessarily know why. And they sort of stall and don't act. But it seems like, from what I'm looking at here, and the headline is interesting too. It refers to Toronto and it says buyers have time and bargaining power.
Right.
So it is encouraging, this document is encouraging buyers to be active in Toronto. Like it's telling them that prices are down. So the same property you looked at last year on average is down 58% and condos are down 8%.
Right. So whether they want to admit it or not, I believe buyers and sellers, but for the most part, buyers are very conscious of the interest rate ups and downs. And that's what fuels them, whether they're going to actually go out and look for a home
Mhm.
or they're going to remain on the sidelines. I think that um, again, it's one of those things where because it's in the media so much, because people talk about it so much, because it's in print, because of all of those things, the general public think that they have to consider that when they're going to actually make a purchase.
Yeah.
So, do we think that they need to stop doing that?
I think they need to look at things on many different levels, not just one. That's my take because I like to look at things, and again, maybe I'm overly optimistic, but if I look at this and then I flip to another article and it talks about, the traditional ways of building wealth through real estate.
Hmm.
And the number one sort of vehicle, I guess you want to call it, is investing in rental properties.
Right.
Now, you and I hear that now in this current environment, and we just, ugh, it seems
Yeah,
risky
it
for
does.
several reasons. One is that, the rental market is tanking, or it's recoiled. I wouldn't say it's tanking, but depending on the price you pay for your property, that necessitates earning a certain amount of rental dollars, rental income.
Right. Right.
So if you've had a property for 10, 15 years, all of these things that people are talking about don't really matter because you paid a price way back. You are
Hmm.
really just trying to keep pace with market rents.
Right.
So you're not really losing.
Hmm.
But if you buy today or even last year at an inflated price point, and then base that on last year's rents. And last year's rents, how far would you say rents have dropped in percentage from last year? I would say at least 15% or so,
Yeah.
right? So, if you just for simple math, let's say you rented it for, 2000 last year. Now you're at, 1700. Not real numbers, but just for simple math. So that
Yeah.
$300, I would be surprised if a landlord at that $2,000 level is even breaking even at 2000.
Mhm. If you
I think I
purchased in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I think they're right on that knife edge
Mm-hmm.
where, it could be plus or minus 50 or $100. But then you
Mm-hmm.
factor in, admin costs and running around and dealing with your tenant and all the rest of it. They're kind of close to just break even.
Mm-hmm.
Now you take away $300 per month and they're having to subsidize the tenant,
Yeah.
right? What's
It
interesting,
is. It is funny that you brought that up because that's the situation that I'm in currently. And whereas I could have gotten $3,000 2 years ago, 4 years ago, even for my two-bedroom, two-bathroom condo, I can now expect somewhere like 2750, maybe 2800. And that, depending on when your mortgage renewed, that may not be enough to cover your mortgage and maintenance fee. And we're talking condos, not single family homes.
right?
So I'm pretty sure they're in the same boat because I've been looking into it. So I know, yeah, they're definitely in the same boat. It depends on when you purchased.
Right. Now let me make it even more confusing.
Mm-hmm.
So condo prices down 8%.
Mm-hmm.
Inventory levels are up, I think, close to 10% or more, 8 to 10%. So you have more options. Prices are down. Interest rates are still manageable, but not rock bottom the way, we've been accustomed to,
Right.
you know, and even that is questionable. I mean, how the banks survived, I don't know, but we'll leave that for another day.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's take it to the next level. Almost, I would say half the people I know are all in the same sort of age group as me with kids going off to university.
Mm-hmm.
I was, so my first daughter lived at home. My second daughter is now going away to school. Those two bills are completely different. I was so
Right.
happy with the first one. And then I got the invoice for the second one. I was like, what? It is unbelievable what they have to pay for housing and food and everything else. And it makes me wonder in the first year she's gonna be living in residence, but years two, three, four, and potentially five if she stays on to do masters or whatever. I think this would be a great opportunity for average people, not wealthy people, but average people to look at purchasing small condos or maybe even a small bungalow with the potential to create multiple units within it
Yeah.
because we are paying the same, we're actually probably paying more on an annual basis to just send our kids to dorms than we would if they were to create this sort of idea. And you've got, in most of these cases, three or four of these kids in one space.
Mm-hmm.
So now the affordability and the investment side, in my mind, are sort of coming closer together. And if I go back to the very beginning with the RBC report, looking at the country as a whole, is giving me confidence that what we're experiencing is not going to be forever and that there are
Right.
other elements throughout the country that will keep us sort of buoyant. So, if your kid's going to school and they're going to rent basically from you as a parent, quote unquote, rent for the next 2 or 3 years and you become sort of the pseudo landlord,
Hmm.
you're actually paying yourself and paying your child. But I think the market will easily rebound within that time frame to the point where it becomes a zero sum game. You're not actually losing at all.
Hmm.
And I wonder if that is an option for people that, you know, haven't gone down that route or thought about that route. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying it's another option
Right, right.
within the
And
channel building
yeah,
wealth.
yeah. And I agree. I absolutely agree with that. Most people are not in that position though.
Mm.
So in the next year, you're gonna try to buy a house in the same city that your daughter goes to school, split it up into student rentals, and Bob's your uncle, basically. Go from there,
Or even a
right?
condo, right? Even a small condo where you can have maybe, your child and um, a roommate kind of thing.
Two others, or one
Yeah,
other, or two others, right?
something.
But is the interest rate going to be a factor in that? And with one thing that we have not even discussed yet are the impending tariffs that our fellow American is going to impose at the end of this month. I think it's the beginning of next month. Like we, those two things alone,
Yeah.
either this year or next year, it will still be affecting us, I believe.
Okay, you want my honest opinion?
Sure, go right ahead.
It's like that kid just walking down the street bored, kicking a can down the street. It's annoying. Every time he kicks the can and doesn't pick it up, it's just annoying. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's what Trump is. So he's kicking this tariff can down the road. I don't th- I don't think he could even put it into motion because there's so many moving wheels that like he's been on the fence with this since what? I guess since inauguration, right? He's been
Mhm.
threatening and threatening and threatening and threatening. I would love to see the data of the revenue they've collected from tariffs thus far. I would think it's zero. I think it's just a negotiation tactic. So I think the bigger threat would be if he dangles that carrot long enough and the Canadian government or specific industries renegotiate in a less favorable situation to Canadians. That I would say I would possibly agree. But
Mhm.
but would it make everything across the board more expensive? I can't see that. I just can't.
Okay.
And I think also too, you have to look at like it's specific to industry, but in terms of goods and services, there's so many products that cross the border more than once, and they're comprised of elements that come from more than one place.
Mhm.
So you've got plastics, you've got paints, you've got wiring,
Yes.
you've got all these
Mhm.
things built into any product. So only
Mhm.
a fraction of that thing is actually taxable. So when
Right.
he says I'm going to put 35% on something, if you actually go and talk to um, like a freight broker or someone who actually controls the tariffs and does the duties, they can actually claw back a lot of the supposed tariff costs and say, nope, this is exempt, this is exempt, this is exempt, this is exempt. So at the end of the day, he's spitting out a number that I think is more for fear and shock and awe than it is a function of reality. Like
Okay.
these products won't be that expensive, and they're shooting themselves in the foot. I'm not really scared of that part.
And I don't disagree with you.
But
However, being real life, and these are real life examples, right? So let's just
Mhm.
say, um, over the last 2 weeks, I'm going to say 2 weeks, for whatever reason, We need coffee in our house. We like Maxwell House coffee. We've been buying Maxwell House for, I'm gonna say, well, a good 15 years. We buy the big tin and it's 963 grams or something like that. We used to be able to get it on sale for $4.99.
Right.
It went up and up and up. Over the COVID, it went up. I am a stockpiling person, so I buy 4 tins at a time when it's on sale.
Jeez.
Of course, I look at the expiry dates. Don't don't get like that. Anyways, so it just so happened that we had to stop buying it about 6 months ago. We're in July, right? 6 months ago, we stopped buying it. Notice the price has gone up and up and up. 11.99. We couldn't get it on sale. It was over $10. Now, do you know what the price is, Greg? Well, you don't know. I'm going to tell you. 24.99.
Okay.
And I 24.99 for the same tin that we used to pay 5.99 for. That is a consumer's goods. I don't do a lot of grocery shopping. My husband does that. I'm good. I'm really good. But I like my Maxwell House coffee. Haven't
Right.
been able to have it because who wants to pay 24.99? And that is a direct correlation to the tariffs issue. I look at the website, Loblaw's website, and it has this little tag that says tariffs.
Hmm.
So, yes, I would love to believe that there are some things that the tariffs do not affect. And yes, I see what you're saying about compound goods and stuff like that. I get it. But I mean, this is just one example.
And where does
One
this
ex
coffee come from?
one example that directly affects me. Maxwell House, I guess it comes from the US. I'm just saying.
Well, I would
Anyways,
see that more as an annoyance than an indicator of the full economy. But
oh,
we will we will agree to disagree.
we will. Well, like I said at the very beginning, it's not that I don't agree with you. I do. I think that people, the general public, and when it comes to buying homes and creating wealth and all those things, I think that a lot of them are paying attention to the news and what's going on. And what the news says is we're not going to lower interest rates and tariffs. And
Right.
that has a lot of people running scared.
Right.
For better or for worse, that's what's happening.
Yeah. And I don't fault them. I just think there are times when we need, at least on this side of the border, we need to have people who are speaking clarity about some of these issues and what they really mean.
Hmm.
Because wealth is going to be created during these times, more so than when we're on an upswing and everything is great. And you're going to see the disparity of that wealth become even greater as we turn the corner and come out of this. And I see it now already. I go to the grocery store too, and I see people. And again, you got to be very specific as to what you're putting in your shopping cart. Because, like you said, things that look like the product we've always bought are exorbitant and ridiculous. And again, if any chain or Loblaws or whatever is still stocking these things when they're what, 2.5 times the price that they used to be, right? That there's an indication. But at the same time, as harsh as that is, imagine being the person that works for the company that produces Maxwell House.
Yeah.
And then you're going into a sales meeting, next quarter, and they're like, so tell us all the good news. Yeah, Canada hates us and they've stopped buying our product and it's artificially inflated and they've moved on to different types of coffee. But we have heard a lot from Charlene and she's really upset. Like, you know what I mean? So I can't see this being a long-term thing because they're putting themselves out of business and we will find alternatives because the United States doesn't make enough. I don't even know if they really make coffee or if they just bring it in, package it, and then send it somewhere else.
That's what I
But there's
think.
enough coffee elsewhere
Right.
that you will not go broke drinking
Yeah.
it.
Right.
You'll have to adjust your tastes, but you won't go
Yes.
broke doing it. And I think, there's still a lot of room for growth and rebound and all the rest of it. And the smart money, old money type people will come out of this whole fiasco much stronger than they went into it.
Hmm.
And they're welcoming the tariff talk. They're welcoming sort of the um, upheaval
Hmm.
because that's all we've heard. But even when I look at my investment account, it plummeted and then it went up and up and up, and it goes up every day for no apparent reason. There is no fundamental behind it other than just demand and speculation from people elsewhere,
Right.
whether
Right.
they're intelligent, whether they're in the know, whether they're just looking for something to like an investment vehicle to put their money in, and they're fighting for these stocks and these properties.
Hmm.
So fundamentally, yeah, we can talk until we're blue in the face about affordability and prices going up and things are expensive, but at the same time, things are still increasing in value. People are still making money. People are planning for the future on how they're going to make even more money off the backs of people who don't have money at the end of all this. And that gap is going to widen. So I know
Right.
for like even our viewers, they would say, yeah, things are expensive now. But if you refocus even a little bit and just get yourself a sliver of the pie,
Hmm.
that pie will increase and grow.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Smart money, we're talking smart money here. This is probably the best time since I've been doing real estate to purchase a home.
Yep, I agree.
Condos are great deal. Homes, single family homes are even better deal. Like it's just if you have the money to do it, you should probably do it. And building wealth, well, that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
You can build wealth from that. If you don't want to be a landlord, I mean, other people, there's a case to be had for people that do not want to be landlords. And I
yeah,
understand that.
yeah,
But there's also a case to be had, like people have families. There are families that need homes.
yeah,
We're not making enough of them right now. And our population has shot up that so much so that people need homes. People need some place to live. So you may have a family member that's renting.
yeah,
Have your family member rent from you.
yep,
That's one of the issues. Like, and then, I mean, you have to make things clear and everything has to be written out and legalized and everything else. But the fact of the matter is, people need shelter. Now is a good time to buy.
yeah. And I'll take it even further. Not just shelter, but they need opportunity. So there are a lot of young people who can't get into the city for jobs and work and, school and everything else. Case in point, so my daughter's in the UK, got there 2 months ago, and now she's looking for a job and, looking for an apartment. And so we're over here complaining about how hard it is. If you think this is hard, go to the UK.
Yeah.
Without credit, without even opening a bank account, she's just getting started, just got her first job offer, but has to pay, and get this, 12 months of rent up front at £2,000 a month.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's £24,000, British pounds, in advance, simply because she doesn't have credit.
Wow.
So, yeah, things are expensive here, but Things are very expensive for many other people all over the place. And also, I mean, UK is one thing, but you go to other places where there is no um, mass opportunities. Whereas, you can go downtown Toronto, there are businesses, there are head offices, there are companies, there are
Hmm.
opportunities. Try doing that in other smaller places
Hmm.
while still facing all the same challenges, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. That is a large sum, especially when you convert it to Canadian, for
yep,
sure.
yep.
Um, how are you going to pay that, Dad? Kidding.
Well, here's the kicker. I'm not paying, she's paying.
Okay, good.
But I mean, again, she is a unique case. Like this was always part of her plan. So she
Right.
is a unique case, and she does have a boyfriend slash roommate. So that is cut in half.
Okay, good.
So it is manageable, but again,
Hmm.
just barely. For
Hmm.
and if you were a local, so we do have family also there in London. So for them, this is like high standard of living. So they're all shaking their heads like, what is she doing? But for us, it's normal from where we come from. Like this is not like Buckingham Palace. This is just a studio condo, like a studio apartment in a condo or an apartment building.
A flat.
Yeah. Where you
Wow.
open the door and you see your bed, a toilet, and a kitchen all at the same time.
And that is a high standard according to the Brits.
The price, but
Oh,
because of the location, it's not attainable by a normal Brit,
right.
right? So it's not uncommon for them to be on the train for an hour, hour and a half one way just to
Hmm.
get far enough out of London that affordability seems to be within reach,
Right. Wow.
right?
Hmm.
So you got to think about it like it's it's obscene, but there you have supply and demand at work.
Hmm.
So for us to complain over here and say things are expensive and the government isn't reducing the interest rate, yeah, but given the amount of income that the average person can make in Toronto, we do complain and whine a little bit more than we should. Like there is a lot of opportunity. And for us to be an average people can walk into a bank, get pre-approved, have the opportunity to buy property and watch it grow into the future, tax-free, to build a nest egg to take care of their family.
Hmm.
Like just think about that whole spectrum and then we complain that over these marginal little things. But if they were to start a business, right? Like the amount of hurdles they'd have just to be able to create that level of um wealth or equity or
Hmm.
appreciation within their business would be insurmountable. It would be
Right.
so much work and they would expect it to be so much work. This is the exact same scenario, but much easier with way better tax implications and the ability to then pull equity out and help all of your family members.
Right.
It's meant to be hard, right? It's a little bit hard, but it's nowhere near as hard as it should be to get this end result. And I think that is the message I'm trying to hammer home to a lot of people. Get off your butt and buy something. And
Right.
I think the only wrong purchase is the purchase is wrong for you.
Hmm.
There's no wrong bad real estate. It just
Hmm.
doesn't fit for you, whether it's
Hmm.
timing, your budget, your likes, dislikes. Like those people that will buy something and 2 years later go, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Didn't think about it,
Long
objectively
term. Yep.
long enough.
Hmm.
But it's not that the property is bad. It just maybe doesn't fit you.
Right.
But there are so many opportunities out there. I would
There
encourage
are.
people to get out and just do it. And even if you don't love it 100%, that is the gateway to getting what you want,
Hmm.
right?
I do agree with you. I definitely agree with you. There are the others that say um, real estate as an investment is not, you shouldn't treat your real estate as an investment. You should treat it like it's shelter, that it's somewhere to live. There are other vehicles like the article that you sent me earlier. I think it's entrepreneur.com that says you can invest in a REIT, a real estate investment trust.
Um,
I have a couple of those holding that, they're not doing very well right now, but they will get better. One of them actually is, I shouldn't say it. One of them is doing very, very well. The other one is a little bit faltering, but in the end, you don't realize a loss unless you pull your money.
Bingo.
Leave it in there. It's going to do better because real estate is what it is.
Yep.
It's right now we're leveling off from our highs of 2022, but in the next 5, 7 years, who knows where it's going to be? I'd love to be able to guess, but I don't have a crystal ball.
No. But I would agree with what you said, 150%. What you purchase should first be your home. So I find it strange when people who, are still living with their parents or renting and they're looking to invest in the stock market. They got, Quest Trade and E-Trade and all these cryptocurrencies and different things. The very first thing I believe you should be doing is paying yourself
Hmm.
and becoming your own landlord. So
Hmm.
buying a property. And I think from a tax perspective, I wish I did more sort of maneuvering of my own principal residence over the years
Hmm.
because that's tax free.
Hmm.
But anytime you do get into the situation of having an investment property, now you have to declare, rental income
Yeah.
or capital gains if it goes up in value.
Yeah.
Those are different things that, the average person shouldn't have to deal with right out of the gates.
Hmm.
But I absolutely agree with putting yourself first and putting a roof over your head and using that as your investment vehicle. Take care of your home. And it's interesting if you ever drive down a street and see people who do have a home and how they treat it, and you get
Yeah.
that pride of ownership versus whatever the other end of that spectrum is, and
Right.
just wonder, you've been given the opportunity to own something that's worth $1 million, and this is how you neglect it.
Right.
Disturbing.
Yes. I agree.
But I
I
digress.
So, real estate investment trusts, another good idea to build out.
I think so. But I think, again, after you've put a roof over your head,
Right.
so after, and I think that makes sense in a place where you are making enough income that you have savings. And now you're
Hmm.
taking that extra instead of buying Maxwell House or waiting, in the drive-through line of Starbucks when you could have just made a coffee.
Right.
Take some of that extra and put it into these things, and let it work. Over the long
Hmm.
term, you won't lose
Hmm.
because it's for savings. So if you're,
Hmm.
there's so many people who say, I wouldn't put my money in an investment because, you might lose money. But then you see what they did with the same amount of money. I'm like, but you're a grown man. You don't need Jordans right now.
Wow. You
Like,
call those
what?
people risk averse. You call them
Yeah.
risk averse,
Well, I don't
right?
know, risk
There are
averse. They're just
there are a lot of people that are risk averse, right? They think stock market is risky. They think buying real estate is risky. You know, they can't see beyond, what is it, the forest for the trees? Is that the saying?
can't see the forest for the trees, something like that.
Yeah. Right. They can't. They can't look into the future and see what this is going to do for them. And that I think needs education.
Hmm.
It needs practice. It needs to be said again and again and again. And that's why we have this show, and that's why others have shows similar to this. You know, we're trying to help the public build wealth.
Yeah. And it's
That's
not
it.
easy. It's
It's
not
not.
easy. But
It's not.
at the same time, it is possible. And I think somewhere in the middle of those two ends is where we fit.
Hmm.
So, you know,
Yeah, there are a couple of, but I think that's all I got for you today, Greg. Do you got anything for me?
I do have one last question.
One last question.
What is your thought on flipping properties?
Oh my gosh. It's funny you should ask that. Same
Oh,
article, entrepreneur.com, and they suggested one of their suggestions is flipping properties. I know that we can't do that very well here in this country, and I wonder why th these laws are like that. It's hard for me to say because I don't know what happened in the past to get to where we are now. Like there's no, these flipping laws do not exist here, or laws exist against it here, is what I'm trying to say. When I first became a realtor 15, maybe 16 years ago now, I had that idea, buying a property and flipping it.
yeah,
And I still have designs as such. For us here, it takes a lot more money to do it here than it does in the US. Because I mean, you watch A&E, ghost properties and ghost flipping Florida and all of those things. There are a lot more properties that you could get there for very, very cheap. So it makes sense to do it there. I'm not sure that it makes sense to do it here in the GTA. I'm
good,
just not.
good. I'm glad you said that. Reason I brought it up, not that I'm not for it, definitely not for it now. But it was lucrative, I don't know, anywhere from like 2015 to 2017, 18, maybe that far. I think that's when it was lucrative. But part of the problem was when you mentioned, the laws and whatever. I don't know so much if we have laws, but we do have, tax issues.
Yeah.
There are deterrents to doing that, and I'm glad that we do have that because you can only imagine if that trend continued, where people would, buy a property, add $50,000 in improvements, and then charge $250,000 extra as a premium. I
Hmm.
mean, the prices would have just gone to such a ridiculous level. And even the workmanship was not the best. Like a
No.
flip is not the same quality as a purpose-built home for an end user,
Hmm.
right? So I mean, we as realtors, we know when we walk into a property, if this was built with purpose and passion and commitment versus a flip. A flip within like 30 seconds. You
Yes.
see the details, you see the poor quality, like it resonates. It looks shiny and um, captures your attention generally,
Yeah.
but it fails on all of the specifics.
Hmm.
And you get that sense. So I'm not really for it. It just doesn't make sense. And the reason why I was bringing it up is because I do find, and you can tell me if you get this, I do find that a lot of people who are outside of home ownership think that this is the way in. And then they want to find cheap properties that they can go and fix, that they can then flip. And
Hmm.
I've seen on sort of on the back end of so many people who have sort of lost their shirts by taking this approach to um, build wealth and not doing a good job of it.
Right.
Right. And so when the bank says, no, no, the money is still due. Yeah, but I don't have a tenant. The job isn't finished. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
Like this is a really easy way for a novice to lose everything.
Hmm. I agree with that. I absolutely 100% agree with that. I think that especially right now, and it's more so evident right now, you can absolutely tell what a flip is because it's low grade materials. Um, is it cheaper? No, it's not cheaper. It's not cheaper to buy low grade materials because you still have to pay for labor.
Mm,
So at whatever point in time it is that you decide that you're going to try to get into the market by buying an older home and doing a quick flip, you still will have to pay the taxes on that. You still have to pay a lot of other fees, and it just does not make sense right now. I don't even know if it made sense in 2015, to be honest. I got into the business in 2009-ish, and that's when I was thinking about doing it, because it did make sense back then. Homes were a lot cheaper.
yeah,
You're looking at over $1 million for a single family home, detached in the GTA right now.
yeah,
That, whether it's in good condition or not, in better condition, it's 1.5. In bad condition, it's still $1 million. Who has $1 million to put out? And then you have to, yeah, it
yeah.
totally makes no
And then you
sense.
have the risk of trying to find someone who wants to pay the premium that satisfies your costs
Yeah,
and your time and effort. And people aren't stupid nowadays. They also know what you paid for it.
yeah.
So if that gap doesn't add up to the quality that they see or lack thereof,
Mm-hmm.
you're not getting your number.
Mm-hmm. What do
One
you
last
think of one last thing? Let me
yeah,
ask you this. What do you think of those multi-residential properties, like
mul
a fourplex or a sixplex?
I think those are good. Um, Several points. One is they cost a fortune now.
Yeah,
So a
now.
fourplex, I mean,
Yeah.
is multi-million dollars. It's
Yeah.
not even attainable. It's ridiculous. So for a fourplex, you're probably, depending on where it is and condition and how well it's taken care of, you could probably expect $2 million or more
Yeah.
to pay for that. The upside is if you actually look at the numbers, you will generate more in like a as a percentage, like profit
Mm-hmm.
and net revenue, more there than you would putting it in a GIC or an investment account. And so if you're looking big picture, and let's just say you retired early, you have $5 million cash in the bank. Don't ask me how. And you're like, what am I going to do with this extra $2 million that will get me a better return than putting it in a basic mutual fund that's spitting out nothing? Then, of
Mm-hmm.
course, this is a great opportunity. But for the average person, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The barrier to entry is so ridiculous. And then you become a pseudo landlord,
Yeah.
which is a whole other headache.
Yeah. Unless you
So,
hire like a supervisor, a site supervisor or something, property
yeah.
manager.
And then at the same time, you have to pay that, right? So
Yeah.
you still got to pay 6 to 10% for a property manager.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're not good at managing a small business, living in a medium-sized business that costs several million and managing all of that is
Mm-hmm.
not going to be any easier. And it's a
Yep.
long-term game. This is not I'm in for 2 years, then I'm out. This
Mm-hmm.
is like I'm going to live here and I'm going to be the superintendent for like 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And for most people, the lifestyle doesn't make sense.
Right.
They would like to own it outright, but live somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't think this is feasible. You got to put the roof over your own head, and then you're one of those three if you're starting out
Yeah.
because there's no other way to afford it.
Yeah. I I I agree. I wish I was like you, wish you were doing more in terms of properties when like before, earlier. I wish I had that kind of insight because when I think about it and I first started looking at the MLS, I would see properties like fourplexes and sixplexes in Whitby and Oshawa, not so much Whitby, Oshawa for like $435,000. And I'd be like, oh, I wonder, could I do that? But right now it's what, double the price,
Oh, it's way more than that.
close to the
It's
close to a
way more than
million.
that. It's more
Yeah,
than
I
that.
mean, it's just ridiculous. Anyways,
But let me just shock you with this statement. Looking back, I'm glad that I never did any of those things
yeah, shocking. Why?
because the beauty of real estate is just owning it. And when you have your primary residence and you take care of it, it is the easiest, most dumbed down investment strategy that you could ever have. Like, so when I started in 2008, the average price in Toronto was $361,000. Average.
Yeah.
Now, what's the average?
1.1.
So I've increased from 361 to 1.1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what I did? I took care of it. I, had it painted a couple times, cut the grass, fixed the roof once.
Right.
Not rocket science. And
Right.
I got out of rent and I live in a beautiful home that I, take care of and maintain. And I'm now turning the corner and becoming an empty nester.
Yeah.
And I did it without lifting a finger. I didn't sweat. I wasn't worried. There was no bad tenants,
Yeah.
nothing. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people, if they look at that and then think, okay, that difference between 1.1 million and $361,000, that equity, how can I put it to work to help my kids and grandkids?
Mm-hmm.
That is how you build the wealth. The
Yes.
other ways are great. Those are sort of icing on the cake,
Mm-hmm.
but they're also a lot more work. And if you're not interested in putting in the work, you won't be able to make that happen. But just buy something, put a roof over your head, and just do what you're supposed to do. You'll be okay.
I agree 100%.
That's a first.
I know, eh?
We should end there because
We should, we should, because I
wow,
could disagree just like that.
I might have to go out and buy a lottery ticket. It's my lucky day.
Hilarious.
Wow.
All right,
Perfect
Greg.
ending.
Okay.
Well, on behalf of Charlene and myself, thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye.